os decía, para los que os habéis incorporado, que el próximo panel va a ser en inglés, so I'm gonna change the language at this point because I'm dying to know the next panelist in this fourth season of this Al-Andalus Innovation Venture. And I'd like to invite them to join me on the stage. Please welcome, for example, Guillermo, no, please welcome maybe Ricardo, Jacinto, Pedro, Almeida, Álvaro, García, y Tomás, Marchão. Big applause for them, please. Because we are going to talk about, there you are.
Any specific tips? No.
It's the same, don't worry. About investment in Spain, investment in Portugal. The title officially is Attractiveness of Investment in Spain for Portuguese Funds. Welcome. How do you see, guys, the season of Al-Andalus Innovation Venture? Is your first time in Sevilla for any of you?
It's my first time in Sevilla and in Al-Andalus, actually. And I'm Spanish. And
It's
I'm
Spanish.
going to Sevilla.
Perfect. So where are you from?
Madrid.
Ah, okay. Is your first time in Sevilla?
Yeah, I
You're from
know.
Madrid?
I know.
Oh
I
my
know
God.
it sounds very weird, but Sevilla is missing.
But you know, with Renfe, we
I know.
we
I know.
can.
I know we have
we
good
can do
train
it so easily.
infrastructure, but I haven't used it that much for Sevilla.
Okay, don't worry. So thank you all. Welcome, as I was saying, officially to Al-Andalus Innovation Venture. And I'd like to start this panel with a general question, okay? What sectors in Spain, in our country, are currently the most attractive for Portuguese investment or investors? Maybe we can start with you,
Maybe
Ricardo?
we should introduce ourselves in 1 minute.
Yeah, you can do it, of
Yeah.
course.
So Ricardo Jacinto from Shilling, one of the partners at Shilling. Venture capital fund based out of Portugal, 15 years in the market. First as angels, and then in the last 5-6 years as a VC. Investing mostly started in Portugal, then expanded to Spain as well, and then in the last 5 years a little bit across the world, across Europe and even Canada, Taiwan or Brazil, for instance. Very early stage focused, pre-seed seed, tickets up to $1 million, 1.5 eventually if we get really convicted or convinced. And very agnostic. I think we are looking for the best founders wherever they are, and that's the most important thing for us. So, to the question, the sectors we are most interested in. Well, I think when you invest to early stage pre-seed, I think the most important thing is to look at the team, the founders, the ambition, the drive, the previous experience, the signs that we can see that actually these guys are going to make it all the way, or at least they want to make it all the way. So it doesn't matter the sector, to be honest. I think we can go from deep tech to consumer. Actually, these days, consumer is getting sexier because AI, everybody's saying that AI is having much more impact in the next few years. First in consumer, then in enterprise. I think enterprise will take longer. So consumer is actually, some of the companies we have are doing very well in consumer, although historically consumer is a tough one, definitely. Then there's this great boom of deep tech, defense. Defense is now the almost, especially in Europe, almost more relevant than AI. So once again, I think more important than sectors is people and market sizing. But obviously, I think there are sectors that get hotter in specific times, and I think AI, defense, I think consumer as well, maybe more US than Europe, but I think if you make it well, it can be massive. So yeah, maybe I will stop there for now.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Pedro, in your case, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Armilar.
Sure, happy to do it. I'm Pedro. I've been with Armilar for the last 4 years. Prior to that, I worked 7 years at McKinsey, then left to join a startup. I was the person in charge of revenues, going from 0 to 30 million annual GMV. Also did some angel investing on the side. And then joined Armilar. Armilar has been around for 25 years now, initially investing mostly internationally, but
it's okay.
Particularly in US, given the nations of the ecosystem in Europe at those times. and investing mostly in B2B tech companies at the core, at early stages, and increasingly more investing in European, particularly in Spain. In Spain, so I think there is a new wave of Spanish founders and Spanish companies, particularly in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, that we are seeing that are global first, tech at core, very often with dual headquarters, both here in the US, tackling global opportunities, and those are very technical. And I think that's a new wave of companies, and we are excited. Those are the typical companies that will also invest in Portugal. And I think those were the product of both the maturity of the ecosystem, but also the developments on the technology that create new opportunities in the local ecosystem.
Perfect. And there we have Tomás Marchão. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Marchão?
Marchão.
How is it?
Marchão.
Marchão. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try my best. I promise. Marchão. Tell us, please, about Indico Capital Partners.
So, Indico Capital Partners, founded by Stefan Moraes, Jacinto and Ricardo about 5 or 6 years ago. We invest in Portugal, Italy, and Spain from seed stage up until pre-IPO round to the multi-stage fund, investing in tech-related ventures, and we've made more than 50 investments, 15 team members across 5 funds, and our portfolio companies have raised nearly $3 billion. And in terms of Spain, what we look at firms that think global from day one. In Portugal, we back founders that from day one they start looking at the US, looking at the world. And in Spain, we take the same approach. In terms of sectors, just mentioned about defense tech and deep tech, I think it is really a sector to look here. We have our own champion in Portugal, Indico. I think a new champion in Spain will emerge. And if you look at the logistics and the geopolitical moment that we live in, 5% of European Union's GDP has to be deployed into defense. Ukraine war will continue, unfortunately, and still Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, these nations have to be protected against potential conflicts. So I think defense tech is truly a sector to be studying, and I think there's quite a few companies here in Spain emerging, and lots of deep tech ventures coming here from Spain. We have one company called Fossil Systems. They do nano satellites for IoT. Great Spanish founders, so we really are looking forward to invest and deploy more capital in the Spanish deep tech ecosystem.
Fossil System, besides, we know them very well because they were, I guess, finalists the last year, and they're great. They're doing a really, really good job. Álvaro, tell us please about Bynd Venture Capital.
Yeah, sure. So, I always define Bynd as an Iberian venture capital. So, we started back in 2008, and our founding partner is actually Spanish, Santiago Salazar. And since then, we've had a very strong connection to Spain. Since our second fund, we proactively started investing in Spain, and as of today, I would say 2/3 probably of our portfolio is Spanish. This ratio will most likely increase with our current fund, so we are very actively investing in Spain. And in terms of our thesis, we are focused in the earliest of stages, so pre-seed and seed. We do tickets right now from 250K up to 750K of first tickets, then obviously additional capital for follow-ons. And what I would say here in terms of sectors, we are very agnostic in that sense. So we have an opportunistic view there. I would mention obviously the sectors that my colleagues have already mentioned, but we are also seeing some interesting things happening in cybersecurity, led by AI, because in that sense, AI generates more threats, but also generates more opportunities to avoid those threats and be more proactive in that sense. And also fintech, me personally, I like it very much, so there's also lots of interesting things happening there. So yeah, but overall very opportunistic and generalist.
Álvaro, I'm going to stay with you. It's possible that the fact that Spain and Portugal are our neighbors and it exists this cultural and geographical proximity between us, it reduces investment risk.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think like the way I like to think about Spain and Portugal is as a truly one whole market, Iberia. And in the end, I think founders also see this. For example, I was speaking with a founder 2 weeks ago, and he was saying, look, I see Portugal as, my Portuguese colleagues hopefully don't offend here, they see Portugal as an extension of Spain in terms of international expansion. And for sure, the geographic proximity, the market dynamics, the cultural similarities, I think that help to see it as a very, simple bridge to make in that sense.
Any of you, Pedro, maybe?
Yes, so we invest in people, right? And that's the most important, and the relationships, and this is long-term relationships. And the cultural proximity, the way of seeing the world is very similar. So I think it helps to create those trust relationship and long-term partnerships, but also the networks are similar because the countries are also connected. And so it's easier for doing references from both sides, but also to have access to opportunities. So yes, it truly helps to be more integrated and to invest in the two regions.
Ricardo?
Yeah, I would not add much more than that. I think it's in a lot of ways, in a more economic perspective, financial perspective, it's almost a single market. A lot of companies that have a single office in Iberia, not one office in Portugal and Spain. So I think there's a lot of synergies and a lot of opportunities and a lot of cross-border references or opportunities or ways to help on talent or on business development and other areas. So I think it's definitely a way to a place to start a company, but I think it just has to be the beginning, especially if you are looking for VC-backed companies or for VC outcomes. In both markets, I think Portugal is even clearer that you need to go outside as soon as possible. In Spain, there's this trend or this tendency to keep there because you can actually build an interesting company. But for a VC-backed company or for a VC outcome, you need to go out global as early as possible. And I think in that way, I think Spain started in the last 5-6 years, evolved much more to that perspective, which is great. And that's why I think now Spanish market evolved so much in the last few years and grew so much. And that's why I think it has been attracting more and more international funds from US and from other larger ecosystems to start investing early on in Spain or in Iberia. So definitely Spain is doing a great progress over the last few years.
Tomás?
100%. I think it's Spain's doing a wonderful job, and I think the ecosystem is growing and growing. We're seeing this maturity. I think in Portugal we have to look at it and keep up with that growth and learn from these Spanish success stories as well.
I would like to talk about the regulatory, because what are the key of this? I mean, tax or legal challenges Portuguese funds face when invest in Spain?
I can go ahead.
Which one wants to start?
It's fine. It's I think in that sense, I think Portugal, was able to evolve a little bit more than Spain. I think we can be a little more digital in a way we structure deals or we put in place or implement or sign or execute the deals. In Spain, you still you need to go to notaries. You need a lot of proxies and a lot of legal procedures to actually execute a deal, which is exactly what we don't want when we are investing in companies that want to be focused on the business, focusing on hiring the right talent, finding the right customers, thinking about how to expand product or markets or elsewhere. So all these hurdles or struggles that companies face when they are doing whatever legal and financial, I'll put it more into legal side, hurdles if we can avoid them, even better. And I think in that sense, I think, for instance, Germany, it's even worse than that. And now this new chancellor, I think, wants to change a lot of things on that side. And I think Spain needs to evolve on that side as well. And I think all of us were always learning from each other. And I think on that side, I think there are a lot of good benchmarks elsewhere. And I think Spain needs to evolve.
Tomás?
What I would say is, in what regards regulation and tax, I think it's been a conversation in Europe, and I think which should be a mentality of ours in Spain, Portugal, and all across Europe is, we all know regulation is out of control. You look at the articles, at the pages, at the shelf that are being published at the European Union, but I think the mentality should be, we should still have regulation and as Europeans still win these tech battles. But yeah, regulation is out of control. We need to find a way to optimize it, still keeping it and thinking with the mentality we can win these technology battles in some sense that we're seeing.
Álvaro?
Yeah, pretty much what my colleague said. I mean, I think over-regulation is a problem. It's a lack, not only when raising capital, but when founding a new business. And overall there, well, I'm not going to discover the fire here. It's a very bureaucratic process, and it's not kind of facilitated, let's say that way. And I believe that's a key area of improvement for sure. Well, there's some movements being done in the right direction, but obviously still lots to do. So it's an area to improve.
Pedro? Same.
You agree? Europe is not known for its good regulation, right? So I think Spain and I think south of Europe is also impacted by its excess of bureaucracy. If you think that US is kind of, there's some state laws, but it's kind of one country, it's easier to navigate. Europe still lacks that capabilities and that framework, legal frameworks. But I don't think, but the good news for me at least is not a showstopper, right? So we are here, international investors are investing here, so it's not a showstopper. But I think it can be improved if you look for Estonia, a very small country with much more agile legal framework, and it's benefiting and impacting the local system in the country because it has a progressive.
I'm going to take a little break just to remember that I'm going to let the last 5 minutes, if this beautiful public that we have in this main stage this morning wants to do some questions, okay? So if you have a question, please be brave. Don't be shy. We're gonna let that 5 minutes, okay? But Pedro, I'm gonna stay with you. You think is Spain a kind of stepping stone for Portuguese funds to expand further into Europe or Latin America, maybe, or not?
So for Portuguese fund, Latin America, Spain is not a route to Latin America. If you think that the largest market in Latin America is Brazil, so if you read the same language, it will be much easier go-to route. But most of the Portuguese investors and even the startups are not following that playbook, and so if Portugal has been punching above its weight and producing large outcomes, and so it's a good market, but it's still a small market. And so when looking to Europe, we see that Southern Europe is still a place which unfortunately is still not as developed from an ecosystem standpoint as Nordics or Germany and France, despite its economy, despite the population and GDP. So we do believe that is an opportunity. So yes, Spain is not only the natural market, is not just an expansion, but I feel that it's also a natural market for Portuguese because it's so similar culturally and so similar from a decent standpoint. So it's a natural market, and hopefully also beyond that, France, Italy, and other regions, but it's more and more an Iberian investor versus just being a Portuguese or a Spanish investor.
Álvaro?
Yes, I agree. I think it's related to the first question you mentioned. But yes, I think also Spain and in this case I would say Barcelona maybe more. It tends to be more like a hub for international founders that come to set up businesses here in Spain. And well, I personally met like a couple of Italians already there. So well, it's kind of a you could call it a bridge or an initial step to be open more to Europe. But of course, well, in Bynd's cases, we started fully in Portugal, now fully Portugal and Spain, and for the next fund, we'll probably add another geography. So it will be like a stepping stone. So I agree with the point.
I don't know if Ricardo or Tomás, do you have something to say about this?
Well, I can just add that VC is a difficult game for both companies and funds. And I think you need to find these outliers wherever they are. And I think it doesn't really matter. Well, obviously we are hopeful that we will find those gems, those opportunities in our own markets. But sometimes it's difficult to find a lot of those opportunities only here. So we always need to think or to look abroad. And the companies should do the same. I think, as Pedro was saying, I think it's getting more and more a single market, and it's not expanding to Spain or the other way around. Or to Portugal. It's almost the same thing. I think the goal should be expanding to US or to larger markets. So I think it's as funds and companies understanding that we need to evolve, and eventually that could be an easy step to evolve from our home markets. But I think the ultimate goal should be much more than that.
Tomás?
100%. Like my peers mentioned the important point. It is a stepping stone in many instances, and in continue to be so.
Okay, at this point, is there any question for our panelists? There he is. Big applause for this great guy, because it's not easy to be the first doing nothing. I'm not sure if mis compis pueden pasar un micro de mano. There's any microphone? I can give him.
Just scream.
There you are. Thank you. A ti.
So my question is...
Oops, it's not working.
1, 2, test. Not working. So thanks for your thoughts. Really good to be here. Thanks for appreciating me to be the first. The question is, so we have a startup. The name of our startup is Full Venue. We raised capital. We raised 2 million euros 1.5 years ago, and we sold the vision. Okay. Today we are not only selling the vision, we are selling vision and numbers, and we are raising capital again. So, in this middle point, when you are not only investing in the vision and you need the numbers, what are the numbers? And if it's not only the numbers, because we are not scaling up yet, what it is? So the question is open for all of you.
Thank you very much. Who wants to start?
I'm happy to start.
Pedro.
So the numbers is just an output, right? Revenues, customers is an output of something. And so it's just a point in the journey of the company, and just can help quantify where you are in that journey. For us, at least for me, whenever I look to a company, I try to understand underlying what is the value that you're creating, how much impact you are having on your customers, and then deeply understanding that. And the numbers is just a proxy for that. And so I don't have any number that I can tell you for C Series A is this number. Yes, there's some rule of thumbs, but I think those are irrelevant. The really important question is, what is the impact that you're creating for your customers? What is the market? Why it's defensible? Understanding those is the key topic, and of course that should be adjusted to the risk valuation in which you are. I know that is a very the way I answer is very broad, so not being very clear, but I'm purposely, because there is no metric for your company, because your company is different from the other company, so I'll need to understand. But at the end, I need to believe that your company has the potential to be very large, to pay back the fund to fund and all of the other investors that I did. So I need to believe that. And so what I want is to understand from you and from founders what you have uniquely that gives you a high chance of being in this very large company and build on that vision, and what evidence you have today that helps me understand that you have higher chance, that you de-risk some of those parts, and that is a journey that I must have and must do with you. And so those are the type of things that I look at. I'm not sure if my colleagues have different ways of seeing.
Yeah, 100%. I think you invest in companies that are solving big problems, and all the companies that Indico has backed. I mean, all the unicorns that we back, and the top desk also founded by Jacinto, they were all targeting real, actual problems. And if that problem is being solved by your company, it's having traction, you're solving these problems to customers by providing a solution, we'll definitely look at it. And if there's a market there, I think that's the most important thing to think about.
I would add that, obviously, when looking at I would say you guys are seed stage probably, right? Obviously, you have now numbers that investors can look at, but for me, the basics stay the same. Like, you need to look at you guys, at the team, look at the market, see if we are convinced about the opportunity, and obviously, then yes, we will also look at the metrics achieved that prove that you guys have tried not to find an interesting market fit, initial market fit. But I agree totally with Pedro that there's not a single metric that we can look and say, okay, yes, we are investing. It's a matter of looking at the context, maybe because in your specific industry, the go-to-market cycles are different and it takes longer to get into the clients and then upsell. It's a different story for each startup. So I totally agree.
And I think early stages for me, there's two points where you are before and after product market fit. And so before product market fit, you're finding customers that like your product, ways to reach that, right? And so that stage there's a lot of uncertainty. So you are still in the vision phase, in finding and crafting that product and trying to outreach and contact those customers. So that's a point, and there's a point after in which you understand the customer, you know who it is, you know the value that you bring, you know how to reach them, and that's the second part. And understanding where you are between those also helps you communicate to investors if it's more on the vision side, where the potential is, and what are the hypotheses that you have to reach to a point of inflection, or you already reached that point of inflection. Is a matter of scaling and growing and reaching and having more channels, enlarging the product, and having different ways of looking. But at early stage, those are the typical two things that I try to understand if you are before and after.
Ricardo?
No, I would just say that vision all the time needs to be there. Without vision, you'll get no money from VCs. And then it depends on the stage that you are. But we always do this exercise, and I always say to companies that they should do the same. You should think how you can get to 100 million revenues. And that's for a small fund like us. When you talk to the big guys in the growth funds, they will ask you how can you get to that 1 billion revenue mark. So vision needs to be there for sure. Metrics are important to validate a few things as proxies and so on, as everybody said, but I think vision needs to be there for sure if you want to build a VC-backed company.
We have like thank you. We have like 2 minutes. If it's another question, we can do it there in the middle. Thank you.
So it's been said that in Spain we have companies. Well, I'm Carla from Lisa. Sorry.
Thank you.
So it's been said that in Spain we have a problem that it is that when talking about expansion, we first expand in Spain and then we look globally. And I wanted to ask you, like, what do you expect from a company to start strong on the global market and have that global vision that you are looking for?
Really good question. Thank you, Carla. To finish this panel, which one?
Just to understand, what does a company need to start in Spain and then go global?
No, it's not that. It's like, in a previous talk, they said that in Spain, we have that problem that we first expand in Spain, we look like at our nation, and then we try to expand globally. And they were looking for that vision to have that expansion globally first, not go step by step and have a more grand vision on that sector and when expanding.
Yes. I think if you look to the success stories of some of the success stories in Spain, they follow the playbook, right? Go in Spain, go to LATAM. And so I think the market thought that that is a way to go and that you can create. But unfortunately, the platforms that enable that, mobile, internet, stopped creating new opportunities. So those were hard playbooks to follow. And so I think that's what capped some of the opportunities, particularly in the cloud in Spain. What we've seen both right now in Spanish entrepreneurs, but we have seen because Portugal is a very small market, so it didn't have the copycats, the pocket internets in Portugal because it was too small. What we have seen those founders doing is really focus on the most demanding customers. Independent if they are where they are, they go straight to them and they try to sell the product, try to see if it resonates. So very early, go to demanding customers, which is hard, provides a lot of failure. So it is not an easy route if you want to success early on. So you have a lot of no's. But if you're ambitious and you want to sell to the most demanding and win the category, you need to talk with them. And so typically, most often they are in US. So what we see in our portfolio is founders very early in their journey move to US, trying to sell remotely, do whatever they can to be global from day one, having the language in the company as English, and just having this global mindset and ambition. And I think the word is really ambition to really create a world company. And that's, I think, something that I'm starting to see now in Spain, and I think other Spanish founders could also drink from the same Kool-Aid that some of these founders are doing and benefit from that experience.
I can add one thing. I think the key it's ambition and to materialize it maybe on things that we are, well, at least from my side I'm seeing, is like the initial hybrid structures, like starting with a mix of like maybe there's one founder or leading the sales part in the UK or the US, and then part of the tech team or most of the tech team in Spain or Portugal, because obviously in terms of cost it makes more sense. And that's also very interesting, and I think it makes sense if you want to tackle since the beginning a larger market, while also having your presence in your origin market, let's call it.
So we don't have any more time. Thank you very, very much. And please, big applause for Pedro, Almeida, Álvaro, García, Tomás, Marchão, and Ricardo. Thank you very, very much.